I said, okay, I need to see a dietitian. I need to see an integrative health person, someone that is a fundamental doctor. And she looked at me like this.
Good morning. We are live. You're watching Yo That's Dope by Maisha Goins. And today my guest is Christina Thomas. And I'm bringing Christina Thomas on because I think that she has some information to share with you guys. And it's not necessarily just in regards to cannabis, but in regards to understanding your body and understanding who you are and knowing how to take control of when the doctor says you have an ailment. It's so important that we get into a place where we learn that we have a choice to choose our treatment. We have an opportunity to be aware of who we are and what's ailing us. And it is our rightful duty to treat ourselves and not just take Western medicine for face value. So I've brought Christina Thomas on. Thank you, Christina, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Aisha, for having me.
So I want you to explain, if you're comfortable, explain to the people what you're battling and then how it came about.
Okay, I'm going to give you the full on just because I'm very, it's better for me to tell you up front everything, and then you can put the pieces, of why I have to treat it in this way. I also was diagnosed with mental illness, and on top of that, before I found out I had mental illness, bipolar, I had found out I had autoimmune diseases. And I say all of that so that people can understand how the mind is powerful and how your mindset makes a difference in your healing. Secondly, the autoimmune diseases that first came about were rheumatoid arthritis. I did have stomach issues from the time that I was born and never really correlated it into autoimmune. Um, After that, I started recognizing that the gut, it holds it all. It has so much stuff going on in there. And that led me into deeply identifying that there is something internally wrong with me. So I went to the rheumatologist. This was back in, after I had my son in 2005. I found out afterwards, and that was a pregnancy that was a gift within itself. I had had endometriosis and a bicornate uterus, so he didn't have any room to grow and so many other problems. But after that, I found out that my body was not going back to the way it was. My body was a wreck, and there was nothing outside of Western medicine. And it was an Eastern method that I took to approach my health. It was completely fundamental. It was completely, what are you eating?
Yes.
How much water are you drinking? What are you eating? Oh, Miss Piggy? Okay. Well, Miss Piggy may not be your friend. I mean, she's really good, but Miss Piggy's not your friend. And you got to put her to the side. And it's once I realized that it wasn't about the weight and it was more about the purpose, the weight no longer mattered. The weight no longer was an issue. It was the doctors would say, well, you got to lose weight for your joints to feel better. Well, how am I going to lose weight if you're pumping me full of steroids and chemotherapy?
Right.
Not going to happen.
So let's start with the first thing. When you were diagnosed ill, what was the first thing that you did?
When I first found out that I had rheumatoid arthritis, I automatically, that was 2007, when they finally diagnosed it, I automatically went on immunotherapy and chemotherapy. So that is injectable methotrexate. After methotrexate, I went into Remicade. Remicade stopped working. Then my liver started acting up and failing, running hot. Then we had to get off of that, started Enbrel, started getting infections that I could not fight. Antibiotics was a part of my daily vitamins. We can get into that about how antibiotics completely destroy your immune system, overstimulating it, and just taking all that's in it and making it a part of what the medication is to accomplish. So your body can't naturally do what it's supposed to do because you put something in it that's stopping it. So after that, that failed, and then I went on to the big dogs, and by then this was like 15 surgeries in, and that was when I started Rituxan. Um, After Rituxan, I did 2 years of Rituxan. Once I was done with the Rituxan, we got stationed here, my husband and I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore. By then, I had found a medical marijuana doctor who had taken all of my files, and I took my entire military files to her, gave them. She sat there for hours. That's the first time I had ever seen someone sit there and read my file and go, did you know you were pre-diabetic back during this time? Because this ain't looking good. Did anybody tell you? No, nobody told me.
So
And
see, it's
that
important. Um, the reason why I wanted to kind of want you to explain to people is because it's important to look at your medication and read what the medication does, and then Google what the medication is supposed to do. Because oftentimes, Western medicine will just kind of, they're treating a symptom. They're not treating the ailment. They're treating a symptom. So what they'll do is just prescribe a whole bunch of stuff to you, and you may not be clear what it is, and you just start taking it unknowingly, which always surprises me when people come into the store and they're like, I take all of these medications, and I'm like, okay, well, you're taking this one for blood pressure, and you're taking this is for diabetes, but this one raises your blood pressure and this one boosts your sugars. So how, like, what the hell
how
are
do
we
you
doing?
balance?
Yeah. So
So that's when I found out that that was the problem. It took me here and someone saying, hey, did you know that this medicine, that prednisone, can cause your sugars to be unstable? And I finally had to step back and go, wait, I need to do more for myself. You have to be the only advocate for yourself. So that's when I finally, now, I do not advise anyone to just do what I did. I did that on my watch. I
right.
decided to get off of everything without consulting with the doctor because I felt my life depended on it. I felt I was slipping further and further away from life based off of just taking what the doctor told me and not doing
that, and for us, we'd be like, yeah, okay. But she just kept saying, and she got a second opinion, and the second opinion said, you don't have HIV. She did have an autoimmune disease, but it wasn't HIV, and she had been treating HIV for 8 months. So it's really good to get a third opinion, first, second, and third, and always research. When I say research, I don't mean Google. I mean, get your ass up and go to the library and
Get a
actually read.
book. Get a book. I'm gonna need you to stop relying on Wikipedia.
Yes,
Stop relying on WebMD and
yes,
go find a reputable source for you to
yes.
sit down. I had to sit, I literally have a radiologist friend, I have a doctor friend, I have a nurse friend, I have all these people in my life that I can go to and say, I need your reference, send me a link to where I can read up on this medicine. Send me a link so that, because I don't believe the basic information. When you're fighting for your life, you can't believe the basic information. For starters, there's
I agree.
three things that I want people to recognize. That is the first thing. So the first thing, you have. So I am Christina Thomas's MD. Nobody can tell Christina Thomas more about Christina Thomas than me. That's how I
Yes.
wanted to approach it. So when my doctor comes in, she spends 40 minutes talking to me because I let her know from jump. So what did you do this week? This week, what was happening is I had a higher stress level. So you're going to probably see more synovitis in my joints because my stress level was up. Do not
Mm-hmm.
give me injections because I don't need them. I just need to calm the hell down. So
Right, right,
that's all I need to do. So I mean,
right,
if we stop thinking, give me a quick fix, give me
right.
that instant gratification, and start thinking, how did I get here? The simple
Yes.
questions: how, why, why am I swelling? What did I eat? Now you know your mom used to say, don't eat all that salt before you go to bed.
Mm-hmm. Because it make your joints swell.
And you know, you done went to bed and ate a whole thing of pork chop sandwiches, and you waking up feeling some kind of way, and the first thing you grab is your Tylenol, versus thinking that my body needs to just flush out all this sodium and all this excess, and I'll be all right in a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't think about what the ibuprofen is doing in our body, and it's not allowing our body to
use that conversation. I made a conscious decision to cut chaotic scenarios out of my life. And when I made that decision, the result of that was changing my phone number. So I did that for my own spiritual and mental health. And what we have to do is we have to be confident enough to know who we are and what we need for us to be better. And what are you eating is a number one thing. So Roz is, I'm going to have Roz on the show next year. But Rosalind Brooks has a program called Well Women of Color. And Well Women of Color, although I may not show size wise how much it's changing my life, mentally and internally it's changed my life because I'm learning new disciplines. And when I learn disciplines, when I get into disciplined actions, it makes me more successful in general. It makes me more successful in my mind, which makes me more successful in my health, which makes me more successful in life. And one of the things that she's teaching us is know what the hell you're putting in your body. It doesn't mean don't be open to junk food or anything like that. She's not saying that. What she is saying is everything should be eaten in moderation, and you need certain regimens in your life to regulate your bloodstream. So, for example, I have this tonic that she makes me take, and it's a half a thing of lemon, quarter teaspoon of turmeric, quarter teaspoon of cinnamon, some pepper, cayenne pepper, and I drink this every freaking morning, but I feel better. And when I don't drink it, I don't feel better, right? I've added, I do a green shot now. So that's something that I do personally. So I've added
We
a green.
one thing that causes most illnesses in
Yes.
Americans is sugar. And it doesn't matter if you get pure cane sugar, it's still going to process in your body as a glucose. And that's
Yep.
not what your body needs. So I had to cut sugar. And let me tell you, this is my perspective on how I was able to get my health physically better. I cut my sugar because I realized it was causing most of my inflammation. And when you realize something is truly hurting you, like most relationships, it's hard to let it go. Because I look at my relationship with sugar that way. It was very hard. It was a good boyfriend, but he wasn't good enough. He wasn't acting right. So the sugar wasn't doing my body good, but it was real good. And I mean, it was like, okay, we got to break up. And I had to put the canister in the closet, for a little bit and
Right.
just say, I love you, but I ain't ready to let you go. But I'm going to put you over here just for a little bit and see if I can find some substitutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that it was easier than I thought. It was so much easier than I thought. It was, at first I would use like agave to substitute just a little bit. And then once I was able to get that down, months passed by and I was able to actually have no sugar in my coffee or no sugar in my tea and be able to truly enjoy it, because that's what it was about, enjoyment of the food. But then when I started eating on purpose, what's in this? Oh, This has vitamin E. I need vitamin E. What's in these collars? Oh, this is going to give me the iron. I have anemia. I need iron.
Mhm.
So when you start thinking about how you feel and you become mindful of your body and mindful of all of your systems, your endocrine system, your muscular skeleton system, your nervous system, and start thinking about the things that, I mean, it's on the back of every label. It shows what it is. Oh, you need protein? Well, then eat some pistachios. It's like you have options. You have so many options, and people just need to be aware that if you live your life on purpose and only put things in your mouth and in your environment that are going to serve purpose, the rest of the nonsense falls away.
I just saw like a video, because I'm really into podcasts now. I don't know why. I think I'm growing intellectually, which is dangerous for everybody. But so
It's great for everybody. It's great.
I was watching this video of this guy, and I watched the podcast, and listen to certain outlets specifically because I'm trying to intake as much information as I can so that I am more of a value to the people. It's not valuable when you're just going off of what you think you know. So I'm trying to input as much information so that I can export more. But I was watching this video, and one of the things, and he's a mountain runner, which I'd never heard of, a mountain runner. Never heard of that. But he runs in the mountains. Can you believe that? This cat ain't hiking the mountains. He's running the mountains. Anyway, it was an amazing video. Nick, anyway, I said that to say one of the things he said is he's had to learn to eat on purpose. And eating on purpose means that just what you said, what it means is he knows what he has to accomplish and he knows what it takes to accomplish that. So he eats based on that. And what he said that made like so change the way I see food is he said that means that if I know that I have nothing to do on that day and I have nothing to accomplish that day is my cheat day. He said, I don't have days that I cheat. Like I don't cheat on Saturday and I don't cheat on Sunday. He said, I cheat on the days that I have nothing to accomplish because on that day I'm available to cheat. But if I have to be mentally stable and mentally available and be relevant in a conversation, then I know that I have to eat something that's going to stimulate my brain waves and keep me functioning throughout the day, and then I won't crash later because I have meetings later. So that's how he eats throughout the day. I was like, holy crap. And I mean, it made so much sense just because I meditate in the morning, right? The first thing I do is I meditate in the morning because I'm getting my mind right for that day. And I said, damn, what if I applied that ideology to my food prep? That is going to make all the difference in how I live life and the decisions that I make on what I'm putting in my mouth. Because now, instead of just eating because I'm hungry or that I've waited too long, I'm prepping my meals for what I need to accomplish throughout that day. That was brilliant. And he was like, I'm not on a diet. He said, I'm not on a diet. I eat whatever the hell I want to eat. I eat with a purpose. And
Right.
I was like, ding.
Yes. I just gave that same nugget of truth to my good friends. I said, I don't want you to ever say, that you're on a diet because this is a lifestyle. And, I've had people, how did you lose all the weight? I was a size 16. I didn't intend on doing it. I started living on purpose.
Right.
Oh, this is very important for your people, as far as like the opiates. My last spinal surgery that I had, he looked at me and he says, you're heavier, up top, that's going to cause a lot of things. It's going to cause problems in your spine. I'm going to need you to lose weight in order for this to be successful. In my mind, this is what I heard. This dude just told me he going to cut my spine open again if I don't lose weight. So, I know he didn't say that, but in my mind, I was like, not again. Nope. I got to get this right. So when I started eating, and it was so difficult, I was so afraid at first, like, I can't gain no more weight. This dude told me to lose weight. So everything I was eating, it was like it wasn't working. But then I started realizing that, okay, I need to feel better. I started eating on how I felt, like, okay, I was not high off opioids. And this is what made the difference. I did spinal surgery. So if anybody that ever looks at you, Aisha, and says, "Oh, I'm about to have surgery. I can't, I'm going to be doing opiates, or I'm going to be on narcotics for my surgery. I can't do what you sell." That's a lie. I did spinal surgery. I'm missing 3 discs in my neck, and it was a 6-hour surgery. And I told them to take me off my drip on the second day in the hospital, and I walked away, and I've never had another narcotic in my life. This is over a year. I used Rick Simpson oil. I smoked on purpose. I dosed. I did what I needed to do. I drank water. I gave myself meditation 3 times a day. I gave myself prayer time. I gave myself the opportunity to heal. I did not get up and start going before it was necessary. I rested. I gave myself sleep, because sleep is your number one thing to heal you. So I can say without a shadow of a doubt, if you live on purpose, if you live your life knowing what's important to you and your end goal, you can arrive at your end goal. You just have to plan.
Yes.
And when I say that not saying that you have to be so stringent and rigid that nothing else is allowed and you're not open, but you have to recognize that your healing may not come in the package that your body used to be in. It's going to look a lot different than you're used to. And that's just growth. And that's okay. I just encourage people to recognize eating on purpose is necessary. That is how this country was founded, very, very, as my son says, tragically. But we as a people totally, as any person of color, and that's why our entire body is so different when it comes to doctors diagnosing things, because of our beginning, our pathology. I never had anything unorganic until I was 20 years old. I grew up on a 500-acre farm. On that farm, my father planted gardens of acres and acres, and we ate off of the land. And the pork that we got, we family member. The cows that we got, family members, friends. We knew exactly where it came from. We knew what they fed those animals, and we knew exactly why we were buying from them, because they had purpose. They treated them good. We no longer have that luxury. And if we did have the luxury, we still choose to go get it fast. And that's unfortunate. But now that you people that they're diagnosed ill, or let's just go a little further. Let's do preventative illness. Let's say you're not ill. Let's say you don't need insurance. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, well, I'm not sick. Well, I was 21 years old and I wasn't sick, and I had a whole career ahead of me, and everything looked great. But the fact of the matter is, we don't get to decide when our body stops.
Right.
We don't.
And it's a good time when you're healthy is a good time to take control of your health. That's the
Boom.
best time to take control of your
Yes.
health. Called preventive. Preventive. One thing that you said about taking control of your health was you started dosing on purpose. And that's, what, and I'm going to start using that. I'm going to clone that, and I'm going to start using that. I always tell people to exchange the high and dose on purpose. And basically what that means is, and I'm glad you gave that story about you went into surgery, and when you came out you didn't get on any opiate based or narcotic based or meth based drugs. And it's important
opioids and I tell them my story, they go, well, I'm not addicted. I said, when's the last time you stopped taking your medicine longer than 3 days?
Exactly. You know what? That's a great conversation because I had an elderly lady come into the. I always talk about my elderly ladies because I'm partial to my seniors. I love my elderly people. I'm so partial to them. So they come in and I will stop what I'm doing. I don't care what I'm doing. I'll stop what I'm doing and spend time with my elderly people. So I had a elderly lady come into the store the other day, and I think they probably, now that I'm thinking about it, they probably come to the store because they know I'm going to do that. But I had a
That's true. That's so true. I would. Why wouldn't I? That's a service you can't get anywhere else.
Oh, that's hilarious. But the other day I had an elderly lady come in and a friend of mine had sent her in to see me. And so we were having a conversation and she said, baby, they sent me in here to see you because they say I reach for my pills too much. And I took a moment and kind of listened to what she was saying because she wasn't admitting abuse. She was admitting that she may need help. And
Who
that
said that? Her family noticed that?
yeah, her
Oh,
family
okay.
her family noticed it and they sent her in to see me. So she was somewhere and something happened. So the gentleman that I know, he called me at work because that's the only place you can get me. So he called me at work and he was like, Aisha, my aunt, my great aunt, she's been struggling with getting off of her back. She's taking back pain, muscle relaxers. She's struggling getting off of them, and she won't admit that she has a problem. But we recognize she has a problem, and because of the medicine that she's using, here was the thing. So she's having a dehydration problem because the medication is
Yes,
making
it's
her
drying out.
dehydrated. Right. So she's having strokes because she's dehydrated because of the back pills. There you go. And that's how these pills work, right? So because she's having strokes because she's dehydrated because of the back
Absolutely.
you want
Absolutely.
you want to be in the mindset that if they've given you 30 days of medication and you know you need to take 30 days of medication, have a plan to get off that medication in 30 days. Don't have a plan to
Boom.
continue the medication.
Thank you. Thank you. This is temporary. Your body will heal itself. I want people
Yes.
to understand that God created this perfectly. Even though it's got its quirks and things going on with it, it's operating and trying to work itself out. You just have to give it time. Generally, naturally, I got to tell you, when I first did this with you, Aisha, it took about 60 days for my body to line up.
Mhm.
I mean, naturally. And I took the holistic approach. I'm talking, I changed my hair, I changed the chemicals. I mean, I went all out. I did do it in a psycho kind of way, like, I'm free. We are just going to be
I
free.
Oh, Christina, I think we all did. I tell people, I'm like, I have this holistic thing that I'm doing. I'm using this kind of soap. I'm using this kind of deodorant.
Exactly.
Put this to my hair. Oh my God. But
My skin feels so great.
girl. And what's really bad is I actually attracted a guy that's just like me. He's Afrocentric.
Ooh, that's a show.
I'm about that life. It is so crazy because I thought that I would have to. Here's what's funny. This is like completely off the subject, but we live and she my girlfriend. So,
Yes, so we could go there.
yeah. So what's funny is I couldn't find a mate being the alternative of who I was. There was no settling. I didn't like what I was attracting, which meant that I wasn't really happy with me, right? So once I became the real and the natural and the unwavered, non-wishy-washy me, I attract someone that's more compatible for where I'm going versus where I was. And it's funny because I attracted someone that I'm not going to get into it because this isn't the position, but maybe I'll go live about this. Here's what happens when you're a woman and you can't have relationships with women. It just means that you haven't embraced all of who you are. And that's all it means. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to dialogue the ugliness of it. I'm just going to say, if you get into a space where you you
This
get
was, do you remember Shira from our
yes.
childhood? This is Shira. I put her in my office to tell me, because I was that girl, Aisha, why can't I have female friends? And I always would look at her and go, I could do this. Like, that's inside of me, like that little diamond right there, that's in me, and that's in
Yes.
them. And we should be able to namaste. I see you, you see me, accept one another. I see the beauty and the queen in you.
Yes.
And I feel like those friends, Aisha, truthfully, the reason that they have that problem, and we won't go too deep,
They not
is
my friends. I
they're
don't
not
have
mine.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have girlfriends who can't have girlfriends because
They're
obviously
not my friends either.
I'm a girl, so that ain't gonna work. So if I hear you making that comment, that's the reason why I'm not your friend. So if you thought to yourself, how come I'm not friendly to you? Because at some point in time, I heard you say you can't have women as girlfriends, and honey, I'm a woman through and through. So that's why I have not made an effort to be your friend. And also,
End
if
quote.
if you have more men friends than you have girlfriends, for me, that's not comfortable. And the reason why it's not comfortable is because there's that are more masculine than feminine. And that's not a comfortable place to me because if you saw a post that I said the other day, I'm already struggling my own femininity. So I'm not going to get into that space. Now, I'm not going to say that I don't have good friends that are men. I have one best friend that's a man, and then I have another. Lil Dre is like my little brother, and he is my best friend. But other than that, all of my friends But once I've won their friendship, I tell them, hey, I gotta tell you, I really needed you as a friend. And here's something, and here's why. Like China Hudson, and she's one of my good girlfriends. I call her my sister. I always call my girlfriends my sister. And the
Me
reason why
too.
I call them sister is because when you are in relationship with someone and they become family, they're easier to forgive. I learned that from a pastor. My pastor say if you treat these people in this church like they're your sister and brother, you'll forgive them and you'll move on. And I learned that that absolutely is true. So when I
That
have
is true.
girlfriends, I call them sister. So that when something happens, I have to remind myself, this is your sister. You forgive your sister and you move on. That's what we do. Okay. And but I said that to say there are girlfriends that I have, like, and I was using China as a reference because I knew China. I had seen her around, and I, wanted to know there was something about her that I needed. I know what
Hmm.
it is
You
today.
knew. You knew spiritually. You
I
spiritually could
knew.
see she had
Yes,
what you lacked.
yes, she had what I needed. And what that meant was, because see, now we're afraid to go out on a limb for relationships, right? We'll do it for a man, but we won't do it for good girlfriends, right? So what that meant for me is I had to be where she was and be non-threatening, right? It was my pride. And let me just say
Met
this.
her where she was at. You met her where she was at.
Yes, girl, because my pride just ain't that valuable to me. I know a lot of people got egos and pride. My pride and ego just ain't that valuable to me. So
Mine either.
I was like,
I wish it was.
girl, yes. So I said, forget this. I'm going to find
I cannot be walking around blazed.
Right.
That is not. And I have little girls looking up to me who call randomly, who need insightful moments in their life. What I look like, girl? No, ain't nobody got time for that. You're saving lives.
Right.
That's how I look at it. God put you here for a purpose, and if you're not doing your purpose, then what are you doing? So I in the afternoon, so I dose once a day. I pick up my son. I do not drive. I do not function in any type of way on the outside. Now, I will tell you about a time where I was having to be out. I wasn't driving, but I was out. I had my pen. I had some anxiety issues, and everything worked out fine. However, I don't advise people using, because with anxiety issues, you can misuse it real quick unless you go and get yourself clear about what your problem is, because you will grab it, you grab the pill bottom, just like you grabbing that anxiety medicine, you will be grabbing your medical pen same way. So you're doing nothing any different. So I say that to say this: in the afternoons, this is what I did when I first started with Aisha. I took my book, sat down. I said, okay, 2017, look, this is a 2017 holistic journal. So 2016, 20, so blends of things to use, herbs, things to use, to drink. I'm feeling a lot of pain. I'm feeling a lot of this. So I will do what I have to herbally, eat herbally. Okay, so I know rosemary's going to help with inflammation. So guess what we're having? Rosemary chicken. So we're going to chop up some rosemary. So put some rosemary oil in it. But on top of that, after I'm done doing all of that, I go outside. I take the time to reflect, to meditate, to make sure I'm and you were like, okay, Chris, you may feel a little bit, but it's CBD. I started with CBD only because I was so afraid. And I went to Aisha. She's like, all right, hold it in, and then I want you to go from there. And that's the big thing. That's the big thing that I want people to understand when you're dosing on purpose. Do it very, very intently, wisely, mindfully, and spiritually. If you think God is going to sit and judge you, if you're sitting there blazed out and you're feeling all this condemnation, you might have some problems with yourself and you might have some problems spirit. I'm just saying. I mean, it could be both. You could be doing too much. I'm just saying. But if you're feeling some kind of way, check yourself.
Yep.
Check check yourself. That's all I'm saying.
what you want to do if you're dosing on purpose, you want to what we call microdose. And what microdose means is it just means that you're dosing enough to get the therapeutic effects from it. You're not dosing to get high, you're dosing enough to get the therapeutic effects. And so microdosing has become like all the rage for people who are choosing cannabis as a treatment. And I try to teach that often. I have some classes and some things that are going to be coming up so you guys can I've been harassed to make something happen, so that's what that's what I'm going to be doing. But microdosing is very important, and it's really, if you're using cannabis as a treatment, that's the best way to do it. And I just wanted to show you the pen because she brought it up. So this is what one of the pens look like. It's really small, it's non-intrusive. You can stick it in your purse, in your wallet. And I like to, on my show, I like to show different mechanisms, because people aren't really familiar. They're not going to come down to the dispensary because they're a little afraid. So I like to take time on my show to kind of show you how cannabis comes now, just how non-intrusive cannabis comes. And this is, like she said, this is the pen. Other therapeutic and other things that she uses for her health, and she's decided to take the WHO holistic approach to it, and that's important. And I want us as a community. So, Black Abyss stands for Blacks in Cannabis. It doesn't mean that I am only giving information to blacks. It just means that I thought it was important that someone, I'm saying this because my assistant just popped on, and when she popped on, it reminded me to say that, have this conversation openly, because she gave me this lecture the other day. So good morning, Ebony. So my assistant said this to me, and I want to make sure that I explain this to people. I decided to be it face front bold about cannabis, not because I'm being rebellious, but because I thought it was important to have the stigmatization um, rebutted. People expect everyone that smokes marijuana to be looking like drugs, be hooked on hip hop and all of these different things. And because that's the stigmatization of marijuana users. And so I don't believe in marijuana that way. I believe in cannabis as a treatment, and I believe in dosing. And so because of that, I've decided to be the face of the black, the cannabis, African American face of cannabis that says, you know what? I'm going to train and teach and educate people
with CBD. I mean, because truthfully, everything I had ever learned, and then it wasn't until this came along. This came along and opened my life. doTERRA came along, opened my life. Fundamental Doctors came along. When I finally decided to take charge of my life, I have chronic sciatica, neuropathy, gastroparesis. Okay, so for chronic sciatica, neuropathy, in that, Tawana, I'm sorry to break you off a little bit.
Do you?
But what I want you to know about that, your number one thing is water therapy. For those events, water therapy is necessary, and not just any water therapy. Swimming. If you don't know how to swim, I suggest you get a teacher and learn. That is your friend. I'm telling you this because I know I truly didn't believe it. I just learned to swim this summer and bought a pool. That's how serious it was. So I decided that I no longer was going to take all the drugs that I know they're passing at you. I'm sure you have all kinds of gabapentins and other neuropathy type medicines and all of the injectables that they could possibly tell you they want to give you to make it stop. You have to get into yoga. Yoga as a regular physical would stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And taking it, that's a very dangerous illness to try to go at alone, and you're going to have to do a lot of research to find out why you're having that. What are you eating that's causing it?
So I was gonna say I wasn't familiar with that. So you just heard Christina. She gave you some insight on that. But so I do have some stuff at the store for chronic sciatica neuropathy. I'm gonna just tell you right now. I'm gonna automatically tell you that you need to get a transdermal patch, because the thing about sciaticas are it's ongoing, and so by the time you dose, like if you're taking it orally, you have to take it every day, and it's just going to keep you treated. But typically, by the time you dose, you've already missed it. So I am going to suggest a transdermal because it's 12 hours of healing. So you'll have 12 hours of healing without having to continue to dose. But if you come down to the store, or any store, I shouldn't be saying that. You can go to any store and you can ask them, don't get the sativa or indica transdermal patch. Mary's Medicinal makes a CBN and a CBG transdermal patch. Those are the patches that you want because those are going to work directly with muscle spasms, and it's just a cannabinoid, so it's not really going to it's going you're going to have some you're going to have some mind, but it'll be more euphoria than anything else. So, but you need CBG and CBN. That's what's going to relax that. All right. And what you want is Mary's transdermal patch. So if you go in, and not every store has them because not every store believes in therapeutic healing that way. However, that's what you need. You need a cannabinoid, and it's called CBG or CBN. Both of those treat you with muscle spasm. It's 9:36, so I'm over my time. And you guys have been a great audience. And if you're not getting up on Friday mornings at 8:30, shame on you, because I have been doing some great shows. If I do say so myself, I'm patting myself on the back.
You got mine. You got mine because they're awesome.
But they'll all be ready. I'm gonna upload all the past daily ones on YouTube, so you can go back and watch them. And I'll go ahead and share that link. Christina, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I know it was early,
Thank
but
you
I
so
appreciate
much.
you spending time with us.
Thank you. And I appreciate everything. And everyone have a very blessed day and look forward to healing. It's all here and here.
Absolutely. You've been watching Yo, That's Dope, and I'm Aisha Goins. See you next Friday morning, 8:30 a.m. And if you have any show ideas, make sure that you post them on my page, and I'll make sure to get the people in. Thank you, you guys. Have a great day.